How do I get more people to buy my product? How do I get more people to listen to my music? How do I get more people in my stores? We're going to answer all these questions today. We're going to explain to you in practical terms how to use some of the most popular channels to promote your products. So at 8 minutes in, we talk about Google ads, 17 minutes, Facebook and Instagram ads, and at 20 minutes, talk about SEO. Welcome to another episode of the Nicebrains Search Podcast. This is episode 4, and in this episode, we're discussing how to promote a product. This is a very fun episode. This is going to be a very fun episode because I'm not just going to explain or say what the different mediums are. I'm going to give some practical examples and really go in depth about how it works, how the different mediums work, and how you can use the different channels to really get your product out there in front of your customers. But anyway, let's get into it. We're talking about a product here. So any type of product. You have a website where you sell stuff. You have some music. You have a physical store. You sell coffee beans. Whatever your product, there's different ways to get your product out there. And the first thing you need to think about when creating your marketing strategy is who your target audience is. Now, a lot of us haven't gone to business school, and there's some things called buyer personas where you won't necessarily know what they are. But essentially, what you want to create is pick a user base, right? Pick a general user base, right? So imagine you have a website and you sell art, just as an example, or you have music and you want to get your music out there. You need to pick a consumer. You need to pick a small group of people who you can really target, right? You need to understand who these people are, and you really need to understand their habits, their behavior, right? So if you have a website or you have music, you need to understand who your target audience is, or pick a small part of that audience. Just focus on one part of that first, and then you can expand. So if you think about it, your marketing strategy is very unique to your product or to your end consumer. The guy who's selling car parts on eBay versus the big companies selling car parts through their own stores and websites will have a very different marketing strategy, believe it or not. So you really have to understand who it is you're targeting. So one way you can do this is write down a general list of who your consumers are, of who your ideal consumers are, and then narrow it down to like one of them. Right. So if I give an example, let's say a company sells keyboards, right? They make computer keyboards, Bluetooth wireless keyboards, and they want to really increase their sales for the next quarter. So there's a lot of people that need keyboards, but you can't just say when somebody asks you who's your audience, who's your market, you can't just say everybody because first of all, you don't have the money to reach out to everybody. You don't have the resources in terms of staff to reach out to everybody. You don't have the time to reach out to everybody. So you really need to hone in on one specific group of people. And when you create your strategy for these people, it needs to be repeatable. You need to create a repeatable process where you can get this person in. So that's why we're going to talk about Google ads, Facebook ads, SEO, and events. So if we use this keyboards example, right? So write down a list of all your target consumers, your target audience, and then look at the one where you have the resources to approach them now. So for example, a group of people who need keyboards are gamers. That's one. Gamers need keyboards. They probably run through that within a few days or within a few weeks. So gamers, you have businesses, you have consumers, you have entrepreneurs. What else? I think so. You have gamers, you have entrepreneurs, you have local businesses, and okay, so let's just focus on those three. So if you have those three, right, realistically, how do you get these people, how do you get your product in front of these people on a consistent basis without having to spend that much money, right? What are the different ways of doing this, right? How do you get your product in front of, so you have to look at the list and decide, okay, which one can I approach right now? And if you think about it, each audience, each group of people on that list, so out of gamers, local businesses, and entrepreneurs, each one has their own unique marketing strategy. But if you pick one, so let's say we pick local businesses. So there's a list of local businesses, there's a group of local businesses in my area that I really want to target. So imagine I live in New York, and all the local, I want to get the business of all the local businesses, and I want to sell them my keyboards. Right? First of all, I'm gonna have to think about why my keyboard's better. What makes why would they have to buy from me? That's the first thing. Because if you send them a pitch and say, yo, I got the best keyboards in the game, the first thing they're gonna ask is why. A lot of people will talk about price, but why yours? Right? So first of all, you have to differentiate yourself. You have to come up with your unique selling points. What makes my keyboards better? Right? What makes them so great? And that's up to you to decide. You have to find a gap in the market. You have to find something that nobody else is doing. That's really how to win, right? You can't do everything else that everybody's doing and then try to compete on price, right? At the end of the day, that's not going to work. The greatest companies always found something different to do, right? So, and you might not have the resources to actually necessarily create something different, but it's all about how you present yourself, right? It's all about how you present yourself. So enough of that. Let's go into details. Let's figure out how do we use the different channels available to us in terms of Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, SEO events, all that stuff. Let's go into detail now. Enough of the marketing speak. Right, so let's talk about Google Ads. Right, we're taking the idea of this business that creates keyboards, and we want to sell it to businesses in New York. Right, so assuming we go online, right, and in our previous episodes we've talked about this. We've talked about how you do keyword research. So you go online and you type in computer supplies in NYC. Right, there's you type in this keyword into Google, and there's a plugin you can use, keywords everywhere. You get that on Google Chrome, and you can see how many people are searching for this on Google, right? So once you do that search and you figure out how many people are searching for this stuff, then you can really identify or create a list of all the keywords, right? So you can create a list of all these keywords. So stuff like, and find a group of keywords and then find their related search terms. So like if you go for computer supplies NYC, then you can go for so let's figure that out. Let's find out in a practical sense, how would you do this? How would you do this? Okay, so I've just typed in computer supplies NYC, and it's come up with 20 searches a month. Now that's not a lot. If you're gonna target people on Google Ads, you need significant search volume. You need about, let's say 300 searches a month and above. You're really gonna see some results there. So one thing you can do is you can look on the side and look for related keywords, right? So this is for Google Ads. And one thing that's good about this is it shows you the cost per click. So the cost per click is how much you're gonna have to pay Google when somebody clicks on your ad. So typically, if we search for something, so that's where your cost per click is, and then your competition is how competitive your keyword is. So now 20 is not enough. 20 is not a lot of searches. I need something above 300, 500, 1,000, 6,000. So I'm going to look at related keywords. So Keywords Everywhere gives me related keywords. So I'm going to come here and click on computer parts. Computer parts. Now that's 135 searches a month. That's a lot of searches. And I'll show you how you can narrow that down, right? By the way, I'm targeting my Keywords Everywhere is looking at globally. So when you do this, make sure to change that to your country so you can really see local searches, right? So computer parts. Computer parts is a good keyword to target. You can see the cost per click is 62 pence. So we'll cover that later on. So every time somebody clicks on your ad, it's 62 pence. You pay Google 62 pence. There's different things you can do to reduce the price of this, to reduce your cost per click. That involves making sure your ads are set up properly and you have a high quality score, you have a high ad rank. But we'll discuss that later on. So here you do your keyword research. You look at all the related searches people also search for. Then you do this and you make a list. You make a really good list of all the keywords you found. So great. Now you've got a list of, you need about 10 to 20 keywords. So you make a list of 20 keywords that have good search volume, and you know how much each one costs, right? It's not too expensive and it's not too competitive. Great. So you find those keywords. Now you have to actually set the ads up in Google Ads Manager. Now here are 3 tips for creating a really good ads campaign, right? One thing you have to do is you have to make sure that when you set up your ads, your ad groups or your keywords your keywords really need to reflect the content on your landing pages. So if you don't know about the concept of landing pages, it's essentially a page where it's really tailored to get consumers to do one thing. So if you're selling these keyboards, you need to send, and you have a ad group where it just has keywords related to keyboards in New York City. Your landing page really needs to reflect this. So the first thing people should see on your landing page, the H1 tag, the header title should say keywords NYC, right? And then the text, the description. And I'll show you an example of a really good. So if you go to the Nicebrains homepage right now, so this is a really simple. This is what it looks like now. I don't know. This might change in the future, but it's a heading, description, and a button, right? It's really good. It tells people what to do next. It gives people some context. This is really good setup for an ad on Google Ads because once they click on your ad on Google and they land on your page, they know, okay, this is what it is. But even more so, Google likes to reward companies that don't bullshit. Right? If somebody clicks on your ad and the ad says keyboards, buy keyboards for your computers in NYC, and they visit the webpage and it says it has some other text or something else, your ad quality, your quality scores for your ads are going to be low. Because Google says, because Google thinks this page is not really about this ad. If your ads and your pages are one and talk about the same exact things, that's why it's good to have different landing pages for different keywords and different ads. It's good to test it. But essentially, if your headings and your ad text are the same, essentially you pay lower. You pay less anytime somebody clicks on your ads. So that's Google Ads, right? Those are the tips for Google Ads. Make sure the ads and the landing pages say the same thing. Make sure you have calls to action, like buttons to say do this, and make sure your website is fast. Make sure that you have to really consider user experience. Make sure the website is fast, right? So let's look at an example and let's compare. So if I search for PC repair, so here are the ads. So we've seen 3 ads. I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna have to click on these ads. It's not fair, but they're gonna have to. So it's $3 a click. That's not very nice for me to click on their ads though, is it? No. So I'm probably just gonna copy the the URL and do that instead, because I don't want them to pay the $3 just because I'm using this as an example. I'll just copy the URL just because I'm a nice guy. So we're going to look at two examples. Okay, if you look at, there's a contrast here, right? If we look at this landing page versus this landing page, which one do you think works better? Speed up immediately. So I just searched for PC repair, and this one says speed up your computer in minutes. It says software. It's got a phone number you can call. It's got some testimonials versus this company, right? But if you think about it, this web page is much cleaner, right? It's much cleaner. There's a call to action. You can do something right now. You can call. There's not a lot of text, which is very good because this is very distracting, right? There's a lot of text here. If you think about users and search habits, people are not going to be searching for ages. People are not going to be on your website for ages. People take 5 seconds to make a decision about whether your site is for them or not. This works because it says this is what you need to do. Get it now, right? So, and it uses text effectively. It's got a heading. It's got proof. This works. I like this, right? So Google Ads, 3 things. Make sure you have 10 to 20 keywords. Your landing pages need to be awesome, right? And don't use a lot of text on your pages because people take 5 to 10 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds to actually make a decision. So that's one thing you have to consider. We don't have a lot of time. I would love to go into more detail about Google Ads, but that's for another episode. If we now talk about Facebook and IG ads, they're very effective for brand awareness as well. They're not as direct as Google Ads, but you can get a lot of people in. And it's also good for remarketing. So what the concept of remarketing is, Facebook has a thing called a pixel. So it's basically a piece of code that you put on your website. If you have a WordPress site, there's a plugin for it. And essentially, when somebody visits your website, Facebook maps them to a Facebook user. So anytime somebody visits your website, Facebook knows their Facebook profile. So if you set up an ad on Facebook to say, okay, I want to show this ad to everybody who's visited my website in the last 3 months, that's really what Facebook and IG ads are really effective for. It's for remarketing. So somebody has shown interest in your product and you've released a new product and you say, hey, how do I get this to people who previously showed interest? Facebook and IG ads. And what you want to do with Facebook and IG ads are, you want to set up your pixel so that even if you don't see yourself setting up a campaign in the next few weeks, you'll need them at some point. Put the pixel on your website and let it just collect all the data, right? You need at least 1,000 users to set up your remarketing campaign anyway. So let it just collect all the data. Do it right now. And you go in there into the Facebook Ads Manager and you set up a traffic campaign, right? It's got a really long list of targeting options. You can target people based on age, gender, interests, and so it's really good. So if you sell your keyboards and instead of going for local businesses, you want to target people who play video games, you can do that on Facebook. You can target people who are interested in esports. You can target people who are interested in specific games like Fortnite, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty. You can do it that way, and you can really hone in on the age of these guys, and it's really good for that. So it's very effective that way. So that's what Facebook and IG ads are good for. It's really good for remarketing. So if you think about the way you can use Google ads and Facebook ads effectively, you get people in through search when they search for your product, and then if by any chance they don't do something, you can still show them an ad on Facebook and say, hey, you remember you visited my site like about a week ago? Check it out. We've just released this and you might like this. So Facebook, Google ads, get people in when they're searching for your thing. Facebook ads, remarketing, right? So that's how you use both together. When it comes to SEO is more long-term, right? This is a long-term strategy that's going to guarantee you visits, every month without having to pay for it. So if you think about, if you look back to our previous episodes, we really go into detail about how you do SEO, how you do keyword research, how you get that sorted. You should check that out. So for example, your SEO strategy for a company that sells keyboards, you want to think about the long term. What is your target audience searching for? What are their habits? What are their search habits online? What are they really doing online? How can you position yourself to be in front of them at every point? So remember, you're doing Google ads. When they search for your computer parts, they see you. You're doing Facebook ads. When they visit your website and leave, they see you on Facebook. But how do you make sure you're there when they're looking for other bits of information? It's SEO, right? And SEO is very important to your strategy. So if you want to get big, if you want to get to that big multinational company, you have to start doing this stuff now. Spend 1 hour a week doing SEO. Figure out how you get there, and I'll explain to you your strategy right now. So with SEO, you want to have a content marketing strategy, and essentially you want to look at all the good keywords that your target audience will be searching for online. So for example, if it's esports, you might and you sell computer supplies. Maybe you sell more than maybe you want to start selling more than keyboards. You want to start selling everything to help gamers create the ultimate gaming PC. Right? So if that's your target, you want to go online and figure out, what do gamers search for? And how do I put myself in front of gamers? So let's see what else gamers might search for. So if we go online, we just have to figure out what do gamers search for? Esports, Fortnite teams, right? So that's something you could write about. So if you look at esports, Fortnite teams, 210 people search for that. Now, the idea here is a lot of people want the shortcut. SEO might not be for everybody, but SEO should be done by everybody. It's very important. It's very important. It makes sure that whilst you're running your Google ads and your Facebook ads, you're making sure that you're putting in place a strategy for the long term. So it might not look like it's working now, but it's very important, right? So a lot of people want to search. So for example, if you can't rank for a search term such as people searching for computer supplies in NYC, you can go the other route, which is content marketing. The final step to promoting your product through events. Now, the last two things, SEO and events, might be for bigger companies. Smaller companies need to do this stuff as well. You might not have the capital for this, but events are a great way of getting your product out there. Whether it's you putting on an event or going to trade shows, they still work. If you go to a site like meetup.com, there's a lot of different groups out there, and you can do a lot of good networking. So for example, you want to target the gamers, so you go in here, there's a meetup, and there you go. So there's a full table, there's VR, there's games nights. You can really go to these events and do great networking with people, right? And this will help you understand who's out there, what they're looking for, and how to position your products, right? So these are some of the ways you can get your music or your website or your store out there. Google ads, in summary, let's go through this. So first, we talked about Google ads. If you want to get your stuff out there, you do keyword research. You find out what are people searching for. What is my target audience searching for? How do I get my stuff in front of them? What? You can use Facebook ads to increase your brand awareness. So you go on there and you say, okay, I want to target guys in New York City who play games. Target them, or you can show ads to people who've already visited your website. You do SEO to get more traffic in, get organic traffic in. That's going to increase your brand awareness, increase your social media, and that's going to get you organic traffic, a lot of organic traffic. And you can do events. You can meet people, go to trade shows, just to get your product out there. So these are just some of the ways that a lot of successful businesses are using the internet and physical locations to get their stuff out there. So thanks for listening. And watch out for the next episode of the Nicebrains Search Podcast.